So ultimately trying to show you how the separation of energy values take place and how they describe themselves without even intention. So you got the force or the source of energy that constantly flows, that's filling up the whole universe. This is constantly flowing, right? And then you have uh, connection points. These are slow building, but they're stronger because they're connected to the source still. So they're stronger. This is why I inlaid them with more color. Then you have some that snap off. This is free from source. We know, understand Freemasons and Masons. You know what I'm saying? You had those two values connected to the source and disconnected from the source. We have those values that are resonant in society, how people are still close to home and some people are disconnected, but the value switching and all this understanding. Well, these don't have much light to them because they're not connected from the source, but they're spinning very fast. They're spinning very fast. And this is what causes them to become black holes, dark holes, because they're just taking in. They're taking in because they don't have much light. So they're taking in a lot. They could be connected to the source, but they couldn't hang on, so they got popped off. They got ripped off and they became, like sinkholes that float around through the universe, picking up whatever remnants, kind of like bottom feeders in a sense. They just pick up whatever remnants is left over. And if they don't gather light that's left over, they end up picking up a lot of trash, stone and stuff that doesn't really, things that'll burn up. And they'll just burn up into existence. That doesn't mean their energy goes. Their energy, the best part of their energy will always go back to the source because it's the lightest part of their energy. So this is not a good and a bad thing. This is a circumstance. This is how circumstances work. So understanding the indifference in between how things are created, and people always want to put a good term, a bad term, an evil term, or this type of term. Well, it doesn't even work that way. But subsequently, to the value of your existence, you're going to birth this ideal as this, because what's not for you may be for somebody else, and what's for somebody else might not be for you. And this is how this universal understanding is taking place. These entities or spirals off of the force energy have to sustain themselves off of the remnant energy that comes from the residue of this just moving through existence. These more likely will be different because they are connected still to the source. That's why they glow with energy. And they might not spin as fast because they're holding on. They're getting pulled with it. So these down here, they're ripped off. And when they ripped off, they started spinning. And they spent so fast to where they was just collecting as whatever they can collect. They were pulling in, started creating a low-level gravity force. But their life expectancy wasn't supposed to ever have a date, but because it didn't have a date, they lived the whole expectancy. And sometimes they might have died early depending on what they were able to take in and go back to the source. But their life expectancy was only inlaid with the value of how long the universal flow was going to be in this particular universe. Like how long was it going to take for the flow to actually fill up the universe? We're talking about eons, 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 and eons times eons. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like, so these existences lasted until they were able to fill up enough energy to get pulled back into the flow, or the flow catch up with the distance where they spent out at. This is how circumstances deliver their idealistic form to Earth, and they manifest here. This is why you have some of the stories that say we are the parents to the idealistic value of the gods, because their energy is resonant in the universe. And in order for them to become real, they have to come into this existence. So they have to come through this energy field, they have to separate from the source, come into this energy field and fall to an earth. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that energy is particular. Knowing that energy is particular, ultimately, this is the same dynamic that falls down into the earth, and we break it up into subsequent two values, which we call different stories, i.e., whatever takes place on the existence of the earth, okay? Because they break off from this understanding. Everything is a wave and a vibration. Before it's translated, it has to be felt. So then we, on this level, started translating feelings into words. It's the reason why we describe what happens in the universe by how we feel, by those particular waves. So now you're getting a clear understanding that we do not speak the clear value or the language of the universe. They're just waves, and we are translating those how we feel according to society aspects. So if you feel a wave that was bad, everything that comes that way is bad now. If you felt a wave that was good, everything you think that comes that way is good. You know what I'm saying? So this is why we're missing the clear understanding of what's taking place with the differentiate between the universe and how we gravitate to certain things or how we understand certain things, opposed to with the value of that vibration coming down from the universe. Once you start to separate these values and understand this consistency and why it's in its own aspect and what that aspect may be speaking of, you can actually understand it directly where it's coming from. Whether it's an attached wavelength that's being posted out in the universe or something that's attached, you can tell the indifference. These, they have to eat by themselves. They're loners. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got to eat by themselves. They can't attach to people. You know what I'm saying? They can't. They probably just absorb you and consume you. These are probably the narcissists. These are probably the narcissists. I will consume you. And this is the light. So I ain't gonna hold you up. I'm just making light of the situation, you know what I mean? But for the most part, this is how it happens. And the different coalesced energy. So you could think about it like, if these spinning particulates being pulled by the great wave is closer, whatever's falling off, especially the purest light, they're picking up because they're right there. So whatever residue is falling off, like, we're right there spinning on that. Like, I'm getting that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna hold you though. You already know the vibes. NagaNeter's thoughts.